is one trusting, reliable relationship to start to shift that in the right direction. I am so adamant about this. One of the most powerful things that anyone can do, believe it or not, is to have internet. Again, a low effort threshold, high dopamine scenario, right? Somebody wants to find something on the internet, they just Google for it and they can find it. I think you want particular food that's extremely tasty, you can order it to your door. This is not potentially problematic. This is problematic. What it requires ultimately, however, I believe, is self-regulatory mechanisms. There is no way that legislature is going to prevent us from having access to things. It's just not, because people have always found a way. You think about prescription drugs that deliver dopamine without much effort. Even if people don't have a prescription, I think the data are something like 80% of college students have taken prescription stimulants without a prescription. When I went to college, nobody did that. Nobody. We drank coffee. Occasionally someone would take a no-dose, like a caffeine pill or something, and that was considered extreme, and I still don't recommend it. Now, there's all this consumption of pharmacology, there's consumption of porn, and I think that successful individuals will learn and understand this relationship about dopamine, especially their own, and they will learn to regulate. And they will be very careful about anything that spikes dopamine really high without much preceding effort, and that has the capacity for addiction. So I worry far less about the energy drink, the loud music, and the workout, far, far less, maybe not at all, than I do high intensity pornography consumed on a regular basis, people taking prescription stimulants who don't need them. That's a recipe for burnout, depression, or worse.
How does this kind of dovetail into having meaning in your life? Because I'm thinking now about those young men, and in that sort of stereotype, they're maybe sat in their bedroom alone, probably don't have a romantic partner, maybe don't have a lot to be aiming at in their lives. And the group of people that fall into those gambling addiction behaviors or that pornography behavior, oftentimes, not always, but often, are also lacking in some kind of meaning. Is there a correlation between the two? Are they associated? And does one help the other? If I go out and start pursuing some great goal in my life, start a company, am I less likely to then be engaging in the dopamine-inducing pornography addiction?
So to answer the second question first, I absolutely believe that when we are in pursuit of healthy goals, meaning goals that are building our life forward, that are going to improve our social relationships, sure, your income, although it's risky to just be in pursuit of money, right? Another great way to encapsulate the dopamine conversation is, I think it's in that movie Wall Street, where the guy says, "What's your number? How much money do you want?" And he just says, "More." Well, that's dopamine. That's the essence of dopamine. He just wants more. It's not really about a number. It's about the pursuit and acquisition of money for him. It's the verb of acquisition. It's not having that money. And you see this in people that get $1 million, they want 10. They get 10, they want 100. They get 100, they want to be a billionaire, right? And I can tell you, knowing many billionaires, that some of them are happy and some of them are intensely unhappy people. It really depends on how well they've managed their relationship to dopamine. Because ultimately it's not about money, right? Dopamine is just a currency. So healthy relationships are absolutely fundamental. Here's what we know. Many, many people are struggling nowadays from what we hear of as the isolation crisis. But all it takes is one trusting, reliable relationship to start to shift that in the right direction. I am so adamant about this. One of the most powerful things that anyone can do, believe it or not, is to have someone each morning that they text good morning to. I know this is going to sound trivial, corny, and I'm happy to take the heat on this one. Find a friend, and in particular, men who lack friends completely, because there's a greater percentage of those, although it's certainly the case that many young women and women are lonely as well. Find someone who you can communicate with each morning. Just a good morning text. Seriously, this is one of the most powerful things you can do, to check in with another member of your species each morning. You don't have to have conversation. You don't have to talk about what you're going to do each day. Knowing that someone else out there in the world cares about us each morning when we wake up makes us feel incredibly part of the tribe. I do this with, let's see, two friends religiously, one from time to time, and a few others kind of fall in and out of the mix. It's an extremely powerful thing to do. You're part of a community.
Can I ask that? Does it matter what you say? Because in my group chats, we tend to tell each other to fuck off and stuff, and we roast each other.
That's fine too. Even better if it's elaborated with how'd you sleep? What are you doing today? What's your plan for the day? And you reach back.
Is it about showing concern and care for them and having that reciprocated? Or is it just about the communication itself?
Someone cares enough to think about you first thing in the morning. You know, people are really isolated. We move away from our families now. And by the way, these could be family members that you're communicating with. But the idea that someone is thinking of us first thing in the morning, even if it's just like an operational thing, like, okay, here we go, good morning. The idea that there's some regularity, some expectation and understanding of a social connection that's reliable is immensely powerful. You know, we've heard a lot, even from the US Surgeon General, about the isolation crisis and the need for more connection. And certainly that can and should be in the form of walks with people, coffee, meals, et cetera. Yes, yes, and yes. But a great starting place that's very low bar is just a good morning exchange, even by text. Phone would be better each morning. I do this as an adult with two friends. Good morning, good morning. If I don't hear from either one of them by noon, I start to worry a little bit, not because they're in any kind of trouble, but it's just become such a routine part of my day. It allows you to feel part of something bigger than yourself. We are not meant to live our lives in complete isolation, in complete relationship only with our goals. It has to be in relation to other people and our goals. This is the importance of going to the workplace. This is the importance of having a place where you work. If you don't have a place of work, going to a cafe or a library, seeing faces in the morning. Now, some people don't want to see any faces in the morning. They're not ready to quote unquote face the day. That's fine. But at some point, seeing other people for some period of time, even just briefly on the street, saying hello, vitally important. You know, we evolved. We are a primate species. We are old world primates. We evolved to look other people in the eye and for them to look back at us, even if just to say hi as they walk their dog. Now, some people don't have anyone. It's really sad, but some people don't have anyone to even exchange this basic text with. In that case, I highly recommend that you adopt an animal. A dog can accomplish a tremendous amount, not everything, but a tremendous amount in terms of making us feel connected. We are then a caretaker. They're taking care of us. There's empathy there. There's all sorts of wonderful things. If you can't have that, you can get a fish. Seriously, some being, a plant, some living being that we're responsible for and that relies on us, and to some extent that we rely on as well, is so crucial. We have huge amounts of neural real estate devoted to this, humans especially. You know, most of the brain is designed for visual processing, for movement. And then you start to look at, okay, like what's kind of the third element? Well, it's language and social connection. So find someone that you can exchange a morning text with on a consistent basis, ideally every day.
Has this come naturally to you? Because you don't strike me as an individual that this comes naturally to. I'm not also.
Okay, you mean I'm a bit of a loner?